Okay, and welcome back to the show. Today we have Alejandra Brady on the show. We're going to be talking about Feng Shui and spiritual discoveries and self-discovery and all sorts of great things. So I'm going to bring Alejandra in. Hi, Alejandra. How you doing?
Hello, Nick. I am great. How are you?
Very good. Very good. So I looked over some of your information, and you've got a lot going on.
I do.
You've got a story to tell as to how you got to where you're at, which I guess we all do.
Right.
You are letting us know your story, though, and I think that's important. I always recommend people to write down their story. What is your story? It's yours, but maybe you want to share it. And maybe you would like to share a little bit about yourself and what got you into this world that you're in now with what I would call a spiritual awakening to something that was there present for you, but you just weren't paying attention to it perhaps at the time. And also what brought you to Feng Shui and what kind of developments you've created out of all this.
Oh, goodness. That is so many questions in one. Okay, let's unpack it. So where to start? It all actually kind of started at the same time. So, as we've been told, or, we hear it everywhere, the universe tries to get your attention. And if you're not paying attention, it gets a little louder, gets a little louder, gets a little louder. For me, it finally got to the point where I kept getting hit with these really massive surgeries that I had to keep recovering from. And even then, I ended up in 3 years' time having a lower lumbar fusion, a full hysterectomy with a bladder surgery that went way wrong. So I had to learn to catheterize myself for 6 months until they could fix it. And then right after that, I was just recovering from that. And I found out that out of the absolute blue, I had to have cervical fusion. So I have a plate in my neck with 6 screws and cadaver bones and mesh and all the fun things. I also have rods in my lower lumbar. So I'm fused at my neck and at my root chakras, which is fascinating, right?
It is.
So all this was happening within 3 years. And, on the other side of things now, looking back, obviously God, universe, source, whatever the word is for you. And if you hear thunderstorms, I do have a mic on, but I am in Tampa, Florida. I mean, it's crazy out there right now. So you may or may not still hear thunder through all this. I kept jumping right back up. Right. I mean, I'd recover from the surgeries and get right back on my hamster wheel and keep going. Well, the cervical fusion does not allow that to take place because you come out of surgery and you're not recovering. You're in a neck brace for a solid 6 to 8 weeks. And that neck brace lets you can't drive, you can't cook, you can't read, you can't do anything because you're literally just staring straight ahead. And so all I could really do was watch TV and chill and do nothing. And that hadn't happened for many, many years. So I am an interior designer. I've been that for over 20 years. I was working on a client's home, and she's the one that happened to mention a Feng Shui consultant coming to her house. And she suggested I have her come to mine if I wanted to help me get ready for the surgery. And I said yes. I think it all started because I said yes to that consultation. And so she came over, unbeknownst to me, she's world renowned. Her book is in 9 languages. I knew none of this, and I didn't find this out until after our consultation. She's an incredible master. And she came to my house within 10 minutes of being there. She said, you're going to be doing this. And I said, no, thank you. Just get me ready for my surgery. I just had very much a tunnel vision going on at that time because I was scared. I mean, this was a big surgery, and all the things that could go wrong with it, especially since I had just recovered from something where something did go wrong. So I just wanted to get my bedroom in order so that I could have a good recovery while I was in there. And that's all I wanted to focus on. However, a consultation includes your whole house. So she walked my husband and I around our entire home, gave us ideas, thanked her, she left. I started implementing the ideas from my bedroom, went into surgery, had a seamless recovery. And about a month after my recovery, I started feeling really good. And we started feeling the energy shift in our bedroom which of course is one of the primary places you spend your life in, right? So it's so important to focus on your bedroom. And my husband said, what do you want to do next? He noticed such a big difference too. And mind you, when she first showed up, he had his arms crossed. He was like, yeah, great. Just another way to redo something,
Yeah, exactly.
So we were our own guinea pigs. We went through and we did the entire home little by little as I was recovering. And about 6 months after, he said, you need to be doing this. I'm like, I need to be doing this. So I reached out to her. I asked her if she would take me on as a student. And if she didn't do that, if she could recommend somebody. She actually did take on students. So, and she had an entire academy. So that's what I mean. It's like, the student was ready, the master appeared, but I had no idea that I was walking into all of this. And I studied straight up under her. I kept my interior design business closed until I got my certification in Feng Shui, and then incorporated it into my interior design business. So that led me to want to explore other modalities. Changing and shifting the energy in my home kind of started shifting all of these other thoughts and things and nudges and inklings and everything else that I was suddenly having. That led to meditation. Meditation led to my questioning what I was here to do on this planet at this point in time. And I got my answer during a meditation, and I was told to write a book. And just like I told her, I said, no, thank you. What else you got for me? I have no interest in being an author, no interest in putting myself out there, just absolutely no interest in this at all. I asked for 5 days straight. 5 days, I got the same answer. I surrendered on the 5th day and said, fine, what am I writing a book about? I'm like, I am pretty average, happy, married, kid, all the things. And I just got told to start writing down and journaling, like you mentioned, what was going to happen to me and what was happening to me. And that is why the book is called I Just Can't Make This Shit Up, because the stuff that started happening, if somebody said you have to write a movie, I couldn't have come up with what actually happened to me.
Right.
So that's sort of, and that's why it all kind of started happening at the same time, because that meditation led to the beginning of my spiritual journey, but Feng Shui led to the meditation. So it was all, everything led to everything else.
Yeah, it's wild. Now, in interior design, you already have to kind of acclimate to seeing the room differently and to see it not the way that normal people see a room. You actually look and have a design eye, so to speak, for things in a space that others won't see until you point it out. There's already a special talent there. Almost like you were kind of being brought up in that apprenticeship very early without knowing what was going on. And then to stumble upon maybe the spiritual aspect of interior design. So you were given this nice foundation. Okay, here's what the industry says. Here's how colors work. Here's how shapes work. Real basic stuff when you look at the type of that art. And then you're given this, okay, now here's how to make the energy flow through the rooms. Here's how things work to inhibit or create positive energy or negative energy, depending on what you're trying to get out of the room. And the flow, you learn the flow of things. So you actively do that still? Then you work with
do.
people?
I combine them together. So yes, I agree with you. I used to redo my Barbie dream house, over and over. Once a week, she'd get a makeover in the house. So I have been doing this for a long time, and I love making things look beautiful. I only work now with clients who not only want their space to be beautiful, but energetically aligned. When I came back into my design practice after completing my Feng Shui certification, and now I even have a biophilic design certification too. But the Feng Shui one was the really big one next to interior. And I came back and I had old clients, reach out and ask me to work on their homes again, because I did have to quit quite abruptly because of the surgery. And I said, well, but now I have it layered along with this energetic practice, are you interested in that? And to my surprise, most of them said no.
No.
And I was kind of shocked.
Oh, I am shocked.
Like, you wouldn't want your house energetically aligned as well? And they said, no, I don't believe in it. And I'm
Right.
like, well, it's not a belief system.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's not, it's a religion. No, it's not a religion. It's not
Art.
pro-religion. It's not anti-religion. It's
Right.
not a belief system. It's not any of the above.
Right.
So I found that fascinating and quite a shock, to be honest. And so then I basically had to start over and just kind of start calling in clients who wanted both,
Yeah.
because I can. Thankfully, that is one of my biggest gifts, as I can walk in an empty room and see it done, 3 to 4 different ways. But now with that layer of the Feng Shui goggles that I wear 24/7,
Yeah.
I can't unsee something that is not energetically aligned too. And I
Right.
can't put something in someone's home, even if they want it, that isn't going to be beneficial to them.
Right.
So I just don't want those clients. I don't want to have to fight with my client and say, well, this is why you can't do this or should not do this. Right. And
Right.
I don't want my name on it.
Right. Right.
So, a little
Yeah.
bit of everything.
It gives it basically it's saying you need to give me the artist discretion in this regard. You need to follow the person that knows more about the subject, so that when we're looking at your house, I know that you're going to have an opinion, but mine needs to override that for specific reasons.
Well, what I want is somebody who's open and who wants to better the energy of their space and
Yeah.
who wants to invite more opportunities into their space. If you're not open to understanding that we are all energy and energy is in everything, including our laptops and our glass of water and everything
Mhm.
else that's around us. And if you're not open and don't feel that working with the energy of your space is going to make a difference, and I'm just not the right fit. And that's
Right.
fine.
And that
That's
works. Yeah.
totally fine. There's someone out there that can work with you, and that's okay.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And Tampa, Florida is where you reside and where you do most of your work, or are you able to do it through the internet somehow?
I
Or
do it globally.
you do it
So
globally?
I didn't know that I could, honestly. At the beginning, I was very worried that I had to be in someone's home in order to feel the energy. But COVID pushed me out of my comfort zone. And we moved to Sedona. We had a second home in Sedona that also manifested itself during this spiritual journey. And so I wrote most of the
Mm.
book there and had clients there. But then I had clients that wanted me in other places. So I started working with them just virtually. And I
Mm.
find that I can feel the energy in their space and see everything just as easily as is in their home. So I have clients
Right.
all over the world.
That's
I had
great.
one that was just and just played in Wimbledon.
Wow, that's
So
great.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, and that's a thing nowadays. We can kind of get a bird's eye view of the space. We can,
Hmm.
figure out the compass directions. We can get really good pictures inside where they're living.
I use
Um,
FaceTime. It's so
FaceTime.
easy for people
Yeah,
to walk around. It's easier than Zoom for
right.
ours, because people can flip it around and look and show
True.
me everything. So I'm actually walking their space with them as they are walking it. And
Right.
so I can feel what's going on there, and they'll send me their blueprints and I can work off of that too. But
Hmm.
it is very interactive and it does feel very immersive when I do it on the computer now.
So, what is the basic idea? And how would somebody know? Like, is my bed in the right direction? Is that kind of what you're doing when you're doing feng shui? Is it furniture alignment to directions? Is it something like that?
Should I start with a definition of what feng shui is for
Yeah,
your listeners that may not know what we're talking about? A
probably
lot
be
of
good.
times when
Yeah,
I'm doing podcasts that are specifically feng shui, people already have a general idea, but you never know. There could be somebody listening who's never heard of the words.
that's right.
So feng shui is an ancient Chinese art that started, give or take, depending on the text, 4 to 6,000 years ago. And it started as a way for emperors to find the most auspicious spaces for them to build, like their burial grounds, their temples. And then from there, it kind of grew. And then it became about your living quarters. And it's just kind of continued to grow from there. But basically, what it means is wind and water, feng shui, wind, water. And wind translates into like energy and unseen forces, and shui translates to water, which means like seen forces. So
Mm.
again, there's the unseen and the seen. So when people ask me, the simplest way that I can describe it to them is, if you are searching for a space to build a home on, and you find a mountain and you have a mountain in front of you. If you build the house at the very top of the mountain, unseen forces like gale force winds can take your house away, right?
Right.
If you build it at the very bottom where the mountain meets up with the river that's flowing through there, a flood can wash your house away. So that's the scene. You can see the flood coming.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the balance? Where's the sweet spot? The sweet spot is somewhere in the middle of the mountain where you have the back of the mountain that serves as protection from the winds. And you're also up far enough that you can go get water from the river if you need it, but it's not going to take your house away. So that is the entire purpose of a Feng Shui consultation, is to come in and find that sweet spot, see what's out of balance, and see what we can do with your space to help make it more balanced, more harmonious, and for it to create opportunities for you. Where people get very wrapped up in Feng Shui, it's like, well, and yes, moving your bed into command certainly is something that I look at because we spend so much of our time there. Same as your office. If you notice, you have a solid wall behind you, I have a solid wall behind me. So we're in command. Nobody can sneak up on us.
Mm-hmm.
I can see the door to my office, but I'm protected, right? And you want that same feeling when you're in your bed. So yes, command position and some furniture placement is a big part of Feng Shui, but there's so many other layers to it. I can walk into a house that is beautiful, but the energy's still off.
Right.
So then it's uncovering and sitting down and talking to the client and asking, what is it that you want out of life? What is it that you want in your life? And I listen really, really closely to what they say to me. For example, I had a super quick story. I had a husband and a wife reach out to me about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I went to their home and they were elderly and he had an oxygen tank and, attached to the oxygen. And as I asked them questions, he said, I feel like I'm drowning. I can't breathe. And I feel like I'm underwater all the time. And I said, well, may I please go see where you sleep? And the wife said, I don't even sleep in the same room anymore because I can't. Like the machine's up all night and keeping me up and he's tossing and turning and I just can't do it anymore. So they showed me the main room and he was sleeping directly under this large, beautiful, and according to them, they'd been to Venice and it was a beautifully expensive gift. And it meant a lot to them too, right? They bought it there, wonderful memories. And he was sleeping under this painting of Venice. Well, it was the canals with the gondola. So where can a human being not breathe, feel like they're drowning, and need oxygen underwater?
Mm-hmm.
This gentleman was sleeping underwater. And because he was older and was not feeling well a lot, he was sleeping a lot. So I just said, let's remove it. Let's put it in another area of the house where water is auspicious. Because they're like, you can't get rid of it. I'm like, I'm not going to get rid of it. We're just going to take it out of here for a couple of weeks. And I'm going to check back in with you. I checked back in 2 weeks later. He was off the oxygen tank and he was playing in the front yard with his granddaughter when I went to go see them. So sometimes it's that literal. It's not always that literal. I love it when it is because everybody gets very excited and I can use the story, but sometimes it's more subtle. It's like, I'm feeling stuck. Well, let's go check the hardware on your front door. Does it stick? I'm feeling burnt out. Let's go check all your light bulbs. How many are missing? I just was in New Orleans with some people and I was not on a consultation. And the husband and wife of the house that we were at were telling me that they were exhausted and burnt out. And I'm not joking when I say 7 of the 8 bulbs in their dining room chandelier were burnt out.
Only got this one left.
One. There was one that was lit. Great. And I'm like, perhaps, But again, since I was not there on a consultation, I also have to be careful,
Right.
Unless I'm asked to come in and give my thoughts, I try and stay quiet as much as I can. Yeah.
Do you find in your time doing this and your your entrance into this world that it seems like we're in kind of like a holodeck, a physical holodeck, where the symbols and the placement of things actually does have a resonance to us, kind of like a hypnotic command to us, like the underwater, and he's got a picture with water and he's under it. Like, do you feel like there is a hypnosis that happens within our space that we are unaware of typically, that we're even doing something or saying something and having a like a visual metaphor of it right in front of us. Do you find that
100.
happens a lot?
Oh, 100%. I see it in everyone's home, including our own. I think we become sort of blind to our surroundings after a while, and you just walk by things that have been in wherever location they've been in forever.
Right.
And nothing is good or bad in of itself, right? It's how it affects you. So, quick example, we used to have in the house before this one, our staircase was in the middle of the house. And so I had one of those huge picture galleries, going all the way up with pictures of our son and our family and friends and everything else.
Yeah.
And as we were going through this process of looking at our house with fresh eyes and really implementing Feng Shui principles, I actually stopped to look at the photos one day. You just go up and down, you're busy, you're not paying attention. And I stopped at this one that caught my eye. And I'm like, oh my goodness. In one photo alone, it was a picture of a group of about 10 of us. And there were 2 divorces in that group at that point. One pseudo suicide, like the guy drank so much that he died. He didn't kill himself, but his drinking killed him.
Yeah.
And another set of people in there that we hadn't seen or talked to in years. And that's just one photo. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going by this energy how many times a day?
Right.
When you're running up and down. So I obviously removed that one. And then I just kind of started going through all of them little by little and started really paying attention to all the photos in my house, the artwork in my house. When people tell me, I feel like my head's in the clouds all the time, or I feel spacey, or I feel ungrounded. Even if they're highly spiritual, they're like, and then look at my beautiful Buddha picture, and it's just a head floating. I'm like,
yeah.
Let's think about that.
Right.
I don't like seeing artwork that has just body parts. A lot of time that can be associated with issues with those body parts in real life with somebody or somebody in the house. Again, anything that's negative or chaotic or violent. I had a woman who said her husband, just wasn't sleeping well and was having nightmares. And I said, may I see the bedroom? I walked in and they had a freestanding bookshelf on his side of the room. And so I'm like, well, let's see what books you have here. What is he reading? Oh, he loves war stories. I'm like, well, that's perhaps not the best choice for bedroom reading.
Right.
It's aggressive, it's violent, it's sad, it's all those things, right? And can certainly be nightmarish leading. So I'm like, again, you don't have to get rid of them. Let's just find a better spot for them. So people get very nervous that I'm going to come in and take everything out of their house. And it's not about that. It's about finding the best location for what you have. And yes, sometimes it is about removing it.
Right.
If you want to call in a partner, but under your bed is full of divorce papers and things from old boyfriends and lovers, well, I mean, the bed's already pretty busy. Nobody else is coming in.
Yeah. Wow. And you've also taken the initiative to help others with the cards as well. Is that correct? Could you tell us a little bit about that and what you've created?
Sure. So again, because I'm a little stubborn and I still have a hard time listening when spirit is trying to guide me, I got COVID in 2021, going into 2022. And COVID rolled right into the shingles because I didn't stop during COVID. I still kept going as much as I could, obviously, with preventative. But went right into the shingles, and the shingles, again, they like to hit this part of me because then I can't leave, right? So the shingles were on the entire left side of my face, my scalp, and my neck. And I looked like a monster to the point where I truly didn't leave the house for 3 weeks because the boils and the everything was just so bad. It was, you couldn't be out in public. Right. And during that time, I channeled the card deck, the Feng Shui card deck. So my goal now is that when spirit's trying to get my attention, I listen a little quicker before they hit me with something that stops me cold in my tracks, because
it seems like a theme, right?
It does, right? And I mean, isn't that funny? I mean, with all this knowledge and experience and spiritual journey and Feng Shui and everything else, I still have a hard time listening to, right? So how can I
Oh, yeah.
expect my clients not to? So I created, as far as I know, still as of now, the only Feng Shui Oracle card deck. So
Mhm.
it's a really fun, really practical. It's right here. It's called What Should I Feng Shui Today? And it's on Amazon, it's on my website, and it's 77 cards.
Mm.
So if you are not ready to call me or work one-on-one with me, whether you just don't feel the need to or want to go at it yourself, or you're just like, it's not aligning yet, you can kind of be your own feng shui consultant with these cards. By the time you go through the 77 cards, you will have touched every area of your home, including
Mm.
the garage, the garden, yard, whatever outdoor space you have, attic, basement, so that you are able to kind of do what I did, when the feng shui consultant came to my house on your own. And then if
Oh,
you feel you still need more guidance, then you're certainly welcome to reach out to me. But I wanted to make it accessible so that more people could experience it. And as we have a son who's almost 30, he says, I love the deck, Mom, because it's not as woo-woo as you are. I'm like, okay,
nice.
fair enough. It's more practical. So it's
Yeah.
easy to work with. You don't feel like, oh my God, this is overwhelming over my head. It's like, let's take a look at the junk drawer today. What can we
Right.
do about it? So it's super down to earth, practical, easy to accomplish in bite-sized tasks.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people reach out to me, say their kids love it. They make
Mm.
it like a family game. And so everybody picks a card and then they have a certain time frame to complete it, a weekend, a week, 2 hours, whatever they choose for themselves, they make it a game.
Wow,
And
that's
I'm like,
great.
that's such a cool game.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. And
Yeah.
is it something also that you could just pull one a day and kind of reflect on what it says and how it works, or is it most specifically to your space? Pull one randomly to adjust your
You
space.
can definitely pull one a day and reflect. And if it resonates, work on it. If it doesn't, don't. You can
Mhm.
also feng shui what you're wearing. So sometimes the cards will be about, how are you feeling today? What color's resonating with you? And then, a list of colors, and then go pull that from your wardrobe, and that's what you're going to wear today. So it's a little bit, but it is more on the practical side of things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. I mean, useful. That's very
I'm a
important.
Virgo. It's a to-do.
Yeah.
It's a to-do list.
There you go. Yeah. And your book, it's doing very well.
It is.
Yeah. And
It
so people
is.
are really resonating with it and hearing your story and saying, yeah, okay, what a
Yes.
wild tale.
From not wanting to write it to it's won 3 awards so far and it's
Wow.
become a bestseller just kind of blows my mind, right? But
Yeah.
again, again, I'm a Virgo. I need a lot of
Mhm.
validation, that
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
that I'm, it's like, yes, I want the gold star. So it's validation for me from the spirit world that I listened, I did what they asked, and that it is resonating with people.
Mhm.
I get DMs from people all over the world saying that they felt it was so helpful to them for their spiritual journey because they were feeling what I was feeling. I actually did a podcast a few days ago where the what do you call the person who's you're the talent, you're on air, but there's somebody behind you that's kind of setting, I guess, the operations person or whatever that is.
Technician. Yeah. Yeah.
That
Something like that.
person came on after we finished the podcast and wanted to talk to me and said, can you send me a book? And I'm like, okay, that's a first. So you never
That's
know who
great.
you might touch and who you might resonate with.
Right.
And that's who this book is for. It's people who are starting out on their spiritual journey or in the middle of it and feel really alone, feel like they're going crazy.
Mhm.
People around them, even with good intentions. My husband, I did a past life regression and came home and said, oh, they said I had to use my throat, very long story short. And he goes, yeah, but you're not going to tell anybody this, are you? They're going to think you're crazy. And I'm like, okay. I just got told to use my voice and use my
Right.
throat. And the first thing that, my
Tamp,
biggest supporter says is, don't tell anybody this. They're going to think
tamp
you're
it down.
crazy.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that happens a lot, I feel, for a lot of people during spiritual awakenings. And so
Yeah.
my book is not for everybody. I don't want it to be. Something for everybody is for nobody.
Right.
I want it to be for the people that it really resonates with. And I have faith that that is who is going to find it and read it and hopefully benefit from it.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. And look, I put my story out there. If this is for you, great. If you get something out of it, wonderful. And it sounds like people are. And it's probably because of the, basically not getting blindsided, so to speak, but really like having things happen and then kind of heeding the call after a certain point and saying, oh, okay, you stopped me in my tracks multiple times. Now I'm going to listen. And I think a lot of people have that going on. And if they just take that opportunity to answer the door, what I call knock on the door, when spirit comes knocking, you either answer or you don't.
Right.
You just may not even know that that is a knock. And that's what is a hindrance. But when you learn and you have the choice, well, do I answer it? Do I take this leap? Do I go on this journey? And so your book is really about that journey.
Taking the leap and going on the journey and putting myself out there again, because this is not something I ever thought I would be doing or that I would want to be doing, and now I love it. I mean, this is truly my purpose, to be out here and share my story. I love doing it now. But when it first was happening, I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. And now I just say, okay, guys, just help me, be with me. Before I come on for any interview, I always ask, I clear myself first and foremost, because I want to come in clear, not with whatever else has been happening during my day. And I always ask for guidance for the audience that's going to be listening, and that I am a channel for whatever your particular audience needs to hear, because that is what I am. It's not just about me, Alejandra. It's about what your audience needs to hear and can benefit the most from.
Right. And that's kind of how that opportunity works, is synchronicity. People find you at the right time, in the right place, in their right space. And well, that's fantastic. And so what we'll do is we'll put your information in the description. So anybody that wants to reach out to you for advice and to work with you can do that, but also to get your book and your cards as well.
Thank you. Yeah, those are on Amazon, so that's super easy. To do. Yeah. Or on my website. So wherever they choose to go to, I try and make it simple.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate having you on and getting a chance to hear your story and share your message with everybody. I think it's very valuable. And like I said, everybody should be sharing their story for others to hear, because we're really all in this together. And a lot of us are floating around kind of with a lot of mystery. And a lot of that can be uncovered by listening to those around us, our peers and our masters that have already done it and been there, and those that have that share that story of trial and tribulation, and getting to the point where they actually can rise above those things. And I think it's very valuable to do that. And I really appreciate that you've done that. And I really hope that everybody listening grabs the book, takes a minute to read it, and gains something out of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. And thank you for what you do, because you're getting the message out there as well, right? We all do it in the way that we are able to do it.
Right. As we're called to do it. Yeah.
Right. That's our calling. So we're all here to share and to bring light to the world. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And until next time, take care.
All right. Sounds great. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.